So today's the day on Hoyo Lab. You can see I've now been playing Star Rail for 400 days. Insane. People have been asking for a showcase or review of my account, especially since I'm a free to play. People want to know what this type of account looks like, my character builds, compared to, let's say, someone who's bought the battle pass for a year or someone who's spent a bit. So let's start with my gacha history. This is the warp tracker website. You can see my limited character pools are about average, I would say. I mostly started off losing a bunch of 50-50s, and I have got some characters early like Xuan and Ruan Mei, but overall it's a mix, quite average luck. As you can see here, average 5-star pity 66, which is just slightly above average, I think. Here was my departure warp. This was the beginner banner when you first create an account, and I was actually really happy. I ended up getting Bronya as my first 5-star, which, as you can see here, my post was interesting because Bronya was also my first 5-star when I was playing Honkai Impact 3rd. Now these two I actually got really lucky, the light cone banners and the standard banners. As you can see here, we'll get into it later with the actual characters, but as you can see here, I got almost everything early. This takes a lot of skill to do this. But I've actually got a very interesting story about my first light cone here, which is Kafka's one. And then the standard banner, Stellar Warp. As you can see, there was quite a crazy streak of just getting a bunch of early stuff. So on that topic, will I be going for Firefly next patch? Who we know is coming since Hoyo strip marketed her about a month ago. So I really enjoyed the Penacony story, and I would say after Acheron, Firefly was probably my second most favorite character, but I'm sure for most people who played the story, she's up there for all of us. It's a very well known story and she is super hyped. But here's the thing, I spent most of my jades on Robin just recently, so I've got 64 pulls here, 69 pulls here, plus 9 here, so I'm technically not guaranteed to get Firefly, but I'm not that far off. The main thing is I probably can't go for her light cone even if I do get her, but yeah, I think I will be going for Firefly unless some really interesting characters get teased for the patch after. And if anyone was wondering how I started playing Star Rail, although I did technically start playing on day 1, I actually didn't know I was going to play it until the end of that day, because I didn't really follow or keep up with the betas and content creators before release. I was too busy playing Genshin and Honkai Impact 3rd at the time, and honestly I didn't think I was going to be able to play another gacha game on top of those. It just takes a lot of time, so I wasn't really interested before. But on day 1 I did see some streams and the game actually looked pretty cool, and I've always been a big fan of turn-based RPGs like Trails, Persona, Dragon Quest, obviously Pokemon as a kid. So yeah, I just decided to start playing. So these are the 5-stars I have. As I showed before, my first 5-star was Bronya, and then I tried going for Seele. I lost 50-50 to Himeko, and then I got Seele after. I think overall, if you want to talk about my tasting characters, honestly, I'm pretty happy with my tasting characters. I'm sure someone out there will say it's pretty based with all the Nihility characters, Topaz. In fact, I just recently watched a Tectone tier list, and weirdly enough, most of the characters I pulled for are in his top tier. So Seele was my first limited 5-star. To be honest, I have a decent build for her, but I don't play her too much anymore. Mostly because I didn't pull Silver Wolf, I didn't pull Sparkle, so I kind of don't really get to play her fun new teams. But in terms of quantum characters, actually to be honest, I do play Qingque more. In fact, as you guys might have seen before, I think one of the only guides I ever made for Star Rail was a Qingque guide. It's a super in-depth 48-minute guide which I talked about a lot of different techniques which I figured out. And yeah, her build is probably better. I don't have a 5-star light cone for her, unfortunately. At the time I was gonna pull Tingyun's light cone for her, but I think it reran at a bad time if I remember. But yeah, her traces are pretty good and her relics are also pretty good. I have a bunch of quantum sets here. This piece is probably my best quantum piece overall. There's some nice crit pieces, and then actually my boots are not the best, but there's some decent ones here. And then I recently got this quantum set for her. It's not the most ideal set effect, but I mean the substats are more important. And yeah, I've got her E6, whereas compared to my Seele who's E0, I find Qingque more fun overall. But she also wants Sparkle, who I don't have, and maybe even Silver Wolf, I don't have either. So honestly, out of the two quantum girls, I don't play them too much anymore. Whereas the characters that came after, like Kafka, I can probably show off a bit more. Oh yeah, before I get into Kafka, if you're interested in seeing my endgame progress, I basically clear everything. But it did take quite a while to get to that point. This is because, like many of you, we only had Natasha back in the day, and the survivability was not that great. So you can see from these screenshots, it was quite a struggle, slowly making progress. Having to use a bunch of different scuff teams. I was even using Welt DPS at one point. Although honestly, I did pretty well for a free-to-play account. You can see here stage 9 in beginning of July. Then I did some attempts at floor 10. Managed to get 1 star. But it looks like I didn't get my first 36 star until Luocha came out, who I got in his first banner in 1.1. Being able to have healers on both teams, that made life so much more easier. So yeah, this guy was really good back in the day. Honestly, these days, I think like many other people, he kind of doesn't feel that great anymore. Mostly because all he really does is be really good at healing. And in a lot of content like Memory Chaos, Pure Fiction, you don't need the most insane healing. But in something like Simulator Universe, Golden Gears, and super hard content there, his healing isn't actually ideal for that. You'd rather have a shielder or some sort of damage reduction. I guess his only real niche these days is having the debuff effect on his ultimate. I alternate between both of these, but honestly, this has his face on it. It matches him better. Traces, I never really leveled up his traces too much. You don't really need it. I do have really good relics on him. These don't have too much attack, but it has a lot of speed, it has effect res, outgoing healing boost, got some nice survivability. This was really unlucky to getting a ton of break effect here, but yeah, I got some attack here. So yeah, I think his build is pretty good, and I still use him a lot, but I just don't think he's that amazing anymore. Now after that, I got Kafka and started my dot team career, and she's probably the character I play the most. And probably the character who has my best build overall. 4.1k attack with the correct speed that works with her signature. I had to win a 50-50 to get her. She was a character who I really wanted when the game first came out, like many of you, and yeah, luckily I got her. I also luckily got her light cone, and the story behind this was I had to farm the entire map, complete all the quests, every single achievement possible to get every little pull I could get. I was around the soft pity just before her banner was over, and I think on the final day of her banner I managed to get her light cone here, and even for that I had to win the 50-50 too. Even though I remember at the time a lot of people didn't think this light cone was very good. In fact, it was considered slightly worse than getting her first Eidolon. But I was a believer, and also I just wanted the art to match her. And then what happened later was this set kind of ended up getting indirectly buffed, as you might know, because the attack speed here synergized well with her new relics and the extra debuffs. So it was a really good investment that paid off long term. And I do have her basically fully maxed out, but I never used this basic attack. That doesn't really matter. And yeah, here are my most valuable relics, I think. Bunch of attack, speed, effect, hit rate. Bunch of attack, speed here, effect, hit rate. A lot of attack here. Kind of got a bit too much flat attack, but still good. This here, I believe this is 4 max attack rolls. I don't have speed here, but I mean, you can't complain about that much attack. And then here, I have a bunch of speed as well. But the crazy thing is, so there's that relic scorer website, and it doesn't actually rate this Kafka build that well. For some reason, like the max I've got is a double S here, but some of this stuff is A and S. I don't know what's up with that, because I think this build is actually better than some of my other builds who are ranked even higher. I don't know if it's valuing attack, speed, effect, hit rate correctly. But yeah, this is definitely one of my best builds. And I've got her easier. A little spoiler, but I actually don't have any Eidolons on any limited character. We can also look at my Black Swan. I'm just going to change the boots here, because I use these boots when I play her with Acheron. But in a dot team, you want as much attack as possible. So this is very close to my Kafka build. 4.3k attack and a bunch of speed, a bunch of effect hit rate, hitting her cap, which is 120 I believe. And yeah, I also got her light cone, 31 pulls, so yeah, that was very lucky, winning another 50-50. And yeah, everyone likes the design of this one. Again, basically maxed everything out. I'm a big fan of Black Swan. She's one of my favorite characters in Penacony as well. And I was quite lucky because I like Kafka so much. I ended up farming a bunch of DOT pieces. So Black Swan ended up using my spare ones, but this is still insane, right? She uses all of those, some extra attack and speed there. This is pretty okay. I would have liked to have more attack and speed. That's very nice. This is very good. She can use attack orb or you can get wind. I got a bunch of speed, effect, hit rate, and yeah, this is pretty decent also. So yeah, the cool thing is that I basically have 3 different dot sets. So my Gwenifin also has a set. You can see here a bunch of different attack pieces, bunch of different speed with attack, and also that meant that my Robin also had a build. Again, Idolin 0. Then there's also Ruan Mei. I also use her a ton in dot teams. And yeah, it looks like I lost a 50-50 for her, but then I got her early later. She probably has one of the best visuals in Star Rail. You can see I got a ton of break effect. This actually got very lucky to get a max memories of the past. I know a lot of people don't have that, and I even got a spare one here. But in return, I'm actually still stuck on Super Imposition 2 of Dance Dance Dance, which is very unlucky. You see a ton of people in their 0 cycles have this maxed out, and I've never been able to have that. But at least I have this, which is good on Ruan Mei, and I believe it's also good on the Harmony Trailblazer as well. I've got her basically maxed out. Maybe I can get this in the future, it doesn't really matter. And yeah, I farmed a new set for her because she uses the same domain as Acheron, which I'll get to later. But this is also one of my best builds. I've got a bunch of speed, break effect, defense. I've also got other pieces here which also have speed and break effect. This same thing. This speed boost, 22% break effect, nice. Then a bunch of more speed, break effect. This is actually not that good, but it is what it is. I know a lot of people build her slower, but I've got the speed rolls. I might as well just use this higher speed build. And yeah, E0 again. She's also one of my favorite characters. Before I get into my follow-up attack team, I can just go through a bunch of my standard characters. So yeah, Bronya, I basically don't really use her much anymore. Although I do have her Litecoin. I actually have 2 copies of this, but you'll see later I put it on Tingyun. And I also put her relics on Tingyun as well. I mean, she is still pretty decently built. And I do have her Island 1, which I never really activated. I wanted to try be a bit more relatable. But yeah, the main reason I don't really use her is because I don't have Blade, I don't have Jingliu. I don't use too many hyper carry teams these days. So I only really use Bronya if I'm playing her with Seele or Qingque, which is not that often. Instead, I can show off my super cracked Tingyun build, who I use a lot more than Bronya. And even though she doesn't work too well with DOT and the follow-up characters, she's still really good as a 4th character if you're playing like a healerless team with Kafka or a healerless team with Topaz. And she also works well with Seele, Qingque. She basically works well with everyone. Clara, she has very good synergy with Robin. And yeah, honestly, even when the game came out, I thought Tingyun was better than Bronya. But nowadays, I think we've seen that she has better synergy with characters that came out over time. And I usually alternate between this or this. Even at S2, it's still pretty good. Traces are not maxed out, but I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. But her relics, now here, let me get into this. I've got a bunch of these pieces. I can just alternate. This has the most speed though. Although if I want more attack, I can use that. This has some speed and attack. This is alright as well. This is whatever. But now here, these are the 2 best ones. I got this piece here and this. This is the most speed I've ever got on a piece. And luckily I got it on an energy regeneration rate piece. So yeah, I think I got this on stream. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. I think the last roll went into HP % as well, so I almost got 5 rolls in speed. Yeah, I actually have got a way to change it to 79 speed, but I mean, it's overkill regardless. Here's my Himeko build. The ratio is not perfect, but I've always been using Himeko. I remember even when the game first came out and people thought she was terrible, I was still using her back then, although she definitely got a lot better in pure fiction. I alternate between this one here and this craftable one. Again, I don't have a 5-star every edition like Cone yet. Maybe I can get one in the future because I use all these characters quite a bit. Her traces are not maxed out, but it doesn't really matter. In pure fiction, you mostly use her follow-up attack anyway. And yeah, I've got a bunch of these follow-up sets from farming for my dot team and my follow-up attack team. I spent a lot of time in that domain, so you can see here I've got a bunch of these sets too. Basically a full set for each of my follow-up attack characters. These are probably my best hands. I got this the other day on stream, I think. That is a lot of crit damage. Probably, I think the most crit damage I have. And yeah, I already had this piece for a bunch of crit rate too, but that's on my Topaz. Some nice pieces here as well. These boots are also pretty good. They've all got pretty solid boots. But honestly, her planars are not the best. I didn't actually get Topaz's light cone until recently. You can see here I got it in 8 pulls. I lost a 50-50 on Bronya's light cone, which I got early, and then I got Topaz's light cone early again. But yeah, Topaz is one of my favorite characters. Even though I'm free to play, I do try to get the signature light cone for all my favorite characters, especially if they're a DPS. I just don't pull too many characters overall, so I do have that luxury. And as you saw, I do have the luck as well. I don't think she's super insane. Maybe now she is insane just because of the follow-up tag team, but I don't have Aventurine. So I always found her fun and I like her design. Basically maxed out, and she takes basically my best follow-up set pieces. Some nice pieces here, and I have this Salsato set too, which is pretty solid. E0 again. I don't always play Dr. Ratio. Sometimes I play him, sometimes I use Clara here, sometimes I use Himeko here. Just any follow-up attack character who I need a Dr. Ratio build is okay. It's not the best. I don't have his signature light cone. Obviously we got him for free. I didn't care too much about him to get his signature. I don't actually have him maxed out either. But yeah, some pretty good pieces. He takes the leftover pieces for my Acheron farming. Nothing crazy. I had this ages ago. It's not the right set, but the substats are very good with these two. E0 again. Here's the Clara build. I know it hasn't got a lot of crit damage, but I've got the planar, which gives you a bunch of crit damage. I have a light cone. Obviously, I didn't intentionally go for this, but I've got 2 copies of it now. I'm not going to superimpose it. These are the traces. These are some relics. They're not the best. Actually, this one is pretty good. Can't complain about that. Can't complain about this one either, I guess. And this one's not too bad. I guess our pieces are all right. This is really good for pure fiction. Stacks up a bunch of crit damage. And yeah, E0 again. And now I kind of glossed past her, but as I said before, my most favorite character in the recent story is Acheron, who I did win the 50-50 of, as you can see here, but I had to go super deep. 83 pulls when the soft pity is 74. That's actually kind of unlucky. But then again, I can't really complain about my luck because this was probably my most ridiculous light cone pulls in my entire account. What happened was I did a 10 pull here and I instantly got a gold. And guess what came up first pull? It was a light cone. That's something I did not expect at all. And yeah, here's the proof. I technically built some pity before from the black Swan pulls, but yeah, it was actually the first pull when I was going for Acheron's light cone, which yeah, that was probably my most ridiculous moment I've had on stream in playing this game. Basically maxed out, and these are my second best relics, I would say. This is pretty good. This has a max amount of crit. I think I've only got 2 pieces that do this. It's this piece here and then this blade piece, which I don't really use. This was also very good. Attack and crit damage, can't really complain there. I do have this, but it doesn't have as much useful substats. And then the boots, I don't have crit rate here, but it's still good. Then this, I remember getting on stream just after I got Acheron. I just did a run in Simulated Universe, and yeah, I guess my luck was very good that day. You can see that was quite ridiculous. And this rope is actually the worst piece. And on that relic scorer website, you can see there's 3 triple S's, and then I guess the A's are kind of letting down the build. But yeah, overall this build, double S relic summary rank, can't complain about that. I am farming, trying to improve this piece here, but it just isn't coming. Attack ropes in this game are just so weirdly rare. I feel like I get more energy regeneration rate ropes than any useful attack rope. I still have not seen an attack rope that has both crit rate and crit damage on this set. E0, she's super strong. I've got her light cone. I don't need even more power. Actually, I might as well show off my Pela build because I'm actually really proud of this. 65 speed with effect hit rate and some survivability. Getting resolution maxed out also, I got very lucky. I think this was from the Kafka banner. But yeah, I managed to get that much speed on the wind set. You'll see here, this very lucky, relatable. Some speed here and some effect hit rate here. I mean, this is just a really good build. And yeah, I'm quite happy that Pela is, I guess, one of the few 4-stars these days that are still relevant. Her being probably Acheron's best teammate overall. And yeah, I also like Pela's design, so I'm quite happy that I've been able to use her on my account this whole time. I also haven't talked about Xuan yet. I alternate between this or this when I'm playing her with Acheron. Getting an extra debuff here helps build up the stacks. This is an okay build. You can see a bunch of crit, but these are just the pieces that I have. A bunch of HP, bunch of speed, HP. It's an okay build. I don't think she does too much damage, even though I have these crit stats, but I mean, it's free damage. I can't really complain. And then the most recent character I got was Robin. 4.2k attack with 123 speed. It's alright, but all this crit is basically wasted on her. You can see when you use her ultimate, crit rate is fixed, crit damage is fixed, speed is fixed. So she's probably the character who has the most useless stats overall. And these pieces are not that great. There's a lot of crit here, which is wasted. But I mean, it is what it is. I should be getting this level 10 very soon. I've also got Herta build here for pure fiction. I've got this maxed out, and yeah, just my spare follow-up attack pieces. But so yeah, those are some of my builds. I haven't built up every character on my account, but yeah, as you can see here, I don't have every constellation on every 4-star. That's just the life of a free-to-play. There's also the standard 5 stars like Bailu and Yanqing, who I never really got around to build. I've got a decent amount of Traveler's Guide now, but hopefully a lot of this will go into Firefly if I get her. This is just a summary of all the light cones I have. So yeah, basically apart from Seele, I've got all of the limited characters' signature light cones. And yeah, here's just a bunch of resources. Now the last thing you might be asking is, are there any characters that I wish I pulled, or maybe that I'm saving for a rerun? Honestly, I'm not really tempted to get any old DPS. I'm quite happy with the ones I did pull. I think I might be saving for either Sparkle or Silverwolf or Aventurine in the future. Those are probably the 3 that if I did want to get old characters, it would be one of these guys. Sparkle, who I had to skip because I was saving for Acheron. There's also Silverwolf, who I did try to get when the game first came out. You can see here, this well is actually me losing the 50-50 for Silverwolf, which I was devastated with at the time. But then when her rerun came out, I think there was something else I was saving for as well. So maybe I end up getting Silverwolf eventually. And yeah, Aventurine, I don't care about him too much. He is the character that completes this follow-up attack team, and I think I didn't quite realize just how significant his damage and extra follow-up attacks were. He is of course really good defensively, but even offensively he is a huge deal in follow-up attack teams. But yeah, maybe there might be a 4-star Aventurine in the future that's not quite as good, and maybe I'll get them instead. But yeah, overall I don't really have many regrets in Star Rail. Generally, I have got the characters I have wanted, I have got the light cones I've wanted, and I have got pretty lucky overall with relics. I don't know, you tell me. And yeah, maybe I could do another account review in a year, see how my progress has developed then. Hope you guys found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.